What's an absolutely mind-blowing and unbelievable fact you know? If you collect all the HIV virus from every infected person in the world, it would only be enough to fill just 1 teaspoon. A typical cloud on a fair weather day weighs 635 million kilograms. There are more women who divorce their husbands to be with another woman than there are men who divorce their wives to be with another man. A gallon of gasoline contains more hydrogen than a gallon of liquid hydrogen. This is one of my favorite facts because it's so counterintuitive. If you are 210 centimeters tall, your chance of making it to the NBA is 1 in 6. Humans and their livestock make up more than 95% of the biomass of mammals on Earth. Insects outweigh all humans and livestock combined. There are only 26 episodes in the original Scooby-Doo cartoon series. Dude, I was equally shocked to learn that there are only 14 episodes of the original Mr. Bean. If you earned $5,000 per hour, 24 hours a day, from the time the pyramids were built in Egypt until today, the richest person in the world would still have more money than you. Add up the amount and double it. That's how much the US spends on its military in a year. Orcas are a dangerous predator for moose. Is that just because an orca once ate a moose, or do moose often wade into shallow waters where orcas can ambush them? Neither. Moose can actually swim and often dive to eat seaweed. In The Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter has only 16 minutes of screen time. Freddy Krueger has 7 minutes in the original A Nightmare on Elm Street. Darth Vader has 34 minutes in the original Star Wars trilogy. A full-size basketball court fits inside a soccer penalty area. I'm still blown away by this fact. That's insane. I can't wrap my head around that, but it makes sense. My wife once marveled at how fit soccer players are, even though it seems like they just run back and forth most of the game. Then you look at the size of the field. Imagine having to run that huge distance for an entire match. The average distance a player runs in a full match, 90 minutes, in the English Premier League is 10 kilometers, with some players running up to 14 kilometers. The Sun contains 99% of the total mass of the solar system. If you removed 99% of the Sun's mass, the remaining mass would still be 86% of the solar system. If the Andromeda Galaxy wasn't faint and we could see it clearly, it would appear about 6 times larger than the Moon. This fact applies to other cosmic objects too. And it's moving towards us at 250,000 miles per hour, so it's only going to get bigger. If you live to be 84 years old, you will have spent about 28 years asleep. The best years, without a doubt. Greenland sharks can live up to 500 years. They reach sexual maturity only at over 100 years old. Their pregnancy lasts. Dogs and cats must be just as amazed by us humans. They're pregnant for 9 months? I got pregnant, gave birth, raised the puppies, and sent them to new homes in less than half a year. Quote. Some worms were frozen in Siberian permafrost for over 40,000 years before scientists revived them. It turns out they weren't dead, just resting. From the worm's perspective, it was time travel. Koala's entire diet consists of eucalyptus leaves, and they are incredibly toxic. Koala babies are not born with immunity to these toxins. They acquire it by eating their mother's feces. Ancient Egypt existed for so long that even in ancient Egypt, there were archaeologists specializing in ancient Egypt. Cleopatra lived closer to our time than to the period when the pyramids were built. In reality, weed and its cultivation are illegal in the Netherlands. There is just a policy of tolerance regarding the sale of weed in coffee shops. Coffee shops get their stuff illegally because there are no legal ways to obtain it. Considering the general trend of legalization in the Western world, Dutch tolerance is starting to look a bit old-fashioned. Running can cause iron deficiency because the rhythmic movements during running physically break down your hemoglobin. The largest air force in the world is the US Air Force. The second largest air force in the world is the US Navy. The movie, Top Gun, which is about the Navy and not the Air Force, is a pretty good representation of these facts. Do you know how you lose weight? When your body burns fat, it mostly turns into carbon dioxide. So, with a calorie deficit, the extra weight leaves your body through your breath. You become slimmer by exhaling. Sharks existed before trees. And before Saturn's rings. Trees existed before there were bacteria that could break down trees. Without these bacteria, we wouldn't have coal, at least not in such large amounts. Without it, the Industrial Revolution would have lasted much longer or might not have happened at all. The company Nintendo was founded in 1889. Initially, it was a playing card company. A similar story with Nokia. The company is famous for its legendary mobile phones of the 90s. But I also have two other products from Nokia: a pair of rubber boots and car tires. Knowing how high 100 meters is, we install equipment on towers. I refuse to believe how ridiculously long one blade of a wind turbine is. From 50 to 100 meters. Like, no, I don't believe it. The last execution by guillotine in France happened the same year the first Star Wars movie was released. Another fact about the guillotine: although the guillotine is often associated with the French Revolution, this method of execution was also widely used by Nazi Germany. The Nazis executed 16,000 people by guillotine, almost as many as the French during the Revolution. Another fact about the guillotine: although it's sometimes associated with brutal and crude forms of execution, it was actually invented as a humane alternative to hanging and other rather slow and gruesome methods of killing. Mammoths went extinct only about 1,000 years after the Great Pyramids of Giza were built. Mammoths probably went extinct a bit earlier than 1,000 years after the pyramids were built. But yes, the fact that mammoths even existed at that time is astounding. The Great Pyramids were built around 2600 BCE, and the mammoth population on Wrangel Island is estimated to have gone extinct around 2500 to 2000 BCE. These were very small, isolated populations in Siberia and offshore islands, likely barely surviving, with each generation becoming more inbred and sick due to a very limited gene pool. Most of their population had gone extinct about 10,000 years earlier. In 1830, the average 13-year-old in the USA drank the equivalent of 5 bottles of beer a day. Alcohol helped cope with the hardships of working in a factory and moonlighting as a chimney sweep. To cook a chicken by slapping it, you'd need to do so at a speed of 6,000 kilometers per hour. Also, you'd need to kill about 370 people to extract enough iron from their blood to make a sword. Rats can laugh, but we can't hear it because our hearing doesn't pick up that range. Once, my rat got a lung infection, and for a while, we could actually hear her sounds. It was very cute but also terrible. Thankfully, we were able to cure her with antibiotics, but now I know how often they laugh. It takes a photon 1,000 years to travel from the center of the sun to its surface. Then it takes only 8 minutes and 20 seconds to reach Earth. In the 4 years of the Nazi invasion, more people were killed in the Soviet Union than died from famine, civil wars, and purges from the beginning of the Russian Civil War in 1917 to the start of Operation Barbarossa in 1941. 4 times more Soviet people died than Jews. Some sources estimate that 29 million people died on the Eastern Front, while others say 40 million. Oxford University is older than the Aztec Empire. When Oxford was founded, it had been less than 2 centuries since the Maori discovered and settled in New Zealand. All the planets in our solar system could fit between the Earth and the Moon. No one has ever tried. I refuse to believe this until someone actually does it. There are 52 factorial ways to arrange the cards in a standard deck of playing cards. That's 52 by 51 by 50x, x1, or 81 bigentillion 658 bigentillion 175 novemdecillion 170 octodecillion 943 septendecillion 878 sextecillion 571 quindecillion 660 quatuordecillion 636 tridecillion 856 duodecillion 403 undecillion 766 decillion 975 nonillion 289 octillion 505 septillion 440 sextillion 883 quintillion 277 quadrillion 824 trillion. This number is greater than the number of atoms in the entire Milky Way galaxy. This means that every time a deck is shuffled randomly, it is most likely in an order that has never been seen before and will never be seen again. Yes. This is the fact that my brain simply refuses to accept. If everyone on Earth lived with the same density as New York City, we would all fit in Texas. There are fossils of whales that walked on land with legs before they evolved to live in the ocean. Some species still have rudimentary fingers in their flippers. It took bacteria that break down cellulose, plant cell walls, several 100 million years to evolve and spread across the world. Before that, dead plants just lay on the ground, got buried in the soil, compressed under overlying material, and turned into fossil fuels. Paracetamol treats the pain of a broken heart, emotional pain, just as it does physical pain. What the heck? Is that why I feel so good after taking it? I don't exactly have emotional pain, but after paracetamol, I feel great and happy. Be very careful with regular painkiller use. My doctor believes that frequent use of painkillers contributed to my inflammatory bowel disease, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I used to take them often for migraines and headaches, to the point where I carried them with me and took them almost daily. It wasn't very wise behavior as a teenager, but it made me feel much better during that period. Thank you for watching. What interesting facts do you know? Tell us about it in the comments, we will be happy to read. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.